Okay, welcome to the November 16th meeting of the Tilton Zoning Board of Adjustment. Thanks. First on the agenda is special exemption, case 1806. I want to remind everybody what a special exception is. It is the Board of Adjustment may, in appropriate cases, I'm reading from our zoning board, just so everyone is clear what it is. In appropriate cases and subject to appropriate conditions and safeguards, grants permits for uses permitted as special exceptions as set forth in the articles of this ordinance before reaching a decision. 3 members of the board shall have viewed the subject area. Do we have 3 people who have viewed Mountain View? Yes, all right. Said viewing shall be noted in their records. The board, in acting on the application for a special exception, must find that all of the following conditions are met. The specific site is an appropriate location for such use. No factual evidence is found that the property values in the district will be reduced due to incompatible land use by such use. There is no valid objection from the abutters based on demonstrable fact. There is no nuisance or hazard involved. Adequate and appropriate facilities are provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. There is an adequate area for safe and sanitary sewage disposal. Those are the criteria. They must all be met. Okay. There you go.
And perhaps we should note that there are 4 members in attendance tonight.
Okay.
And as is,
Yeah.
as all. Sorry.
So as always, there are 4 members. You have the option of pushing this off if you want, but all 4 members have seen the property. Are you going to move forward? Okay. Yeah.
My name is Jacques Mato. I'm the property owner of 21 Mountain View Drive and the owner of the chickens in this case. I originally got the chickens about 2 years ago now. I got it because I grew up with chickens and I wanted my 3 boys to grow up with chickens and bring the responsibility of taking care of the chickens. And I don't want that, but it also helps out with, eggs and everything like that. Good source of protein. Growing boys, they need it. I believe all of those are met. All of the criteria are met because, it's not like we have a rundown shack, chicken coop or anything. It's a 8x12 shed with an 8x12 park attached to it, so they can go outdoors. They're not free range or anything like that. They don't run around the property or anything like that. They're in their own fenced-in, covered area. I recently just put a tarp over the top to cut back on any rain, making it soggy or soot or anything in their park. I did have a compost pile at one point, but it came up that could be an issue, so that's been taken care of. No more compost pile. Anytime I clean the coop, which on average now the chickens aren't in the house right now, but when they were at the house, it is at least once a week. And, as long as it's kept up with, the waste can be put into trash bags. They're easy enough to put right into the trash. Or I'd like to find a better way to get rid of it. Maybe talk to some other farms or somewhere that would accept it. I can always transport it out. Doing my research has showed that anywhere from 2 to 3 square feet per chicken. And at the time of the first meeting, I had 20 chickens. We ended up, by the following meeting that was canceled, I was able to relocate 10 of them. So said and done, there's no smell, there's no odor, there's no noise issues. I have the abutting property to the left of my property. I actually talked to her, and she said she had no issues with it for a while. She didn't even know I had chickens. The previous owners, when we bought the house, had chickens. I think they only had a couple of them at the time. They also had a rooster, which is why I thought that I was able to have chickens. I didn't think of it. Probably should have done due diligence there. I apologize for that. In your notes and everything, I have letters from multiple people that have come to the house, and we have barbecues all the time, and within, I don't know, 20 feet proximity of the chickens. They never had any issues with it. We have barbecues for everything, like kids' graduations, end of the year, birthday parties with 3 boys. We have at least 2 of the birthday parties are during the spring and summer. One is during the winter, so we don't really go outside too much during the winter for parties. I do have a letter here also from the abutter property's mother. I was given this today for her. I can pass it off to you guys.
Which abutter is this?
27?
27?
Mom, 27.
So, I'll let everyone read it. Please, it says I am unable to physically attend the meeting. My daughter, Laura Clegg, will be there, and she lives here also. I have no objection to the chickens. There's no noise or offending odor. I do spend considerable time outdoors. There were chickens prior to this as same resident. No problem there. Margaret T. Carpenter of 27 Mountain View.
I would like to be able to keep the chicken. Ideally, I would like to keep the 20 chickens, but I understand if that's too many, maybe we can, come to a compromise, whatever feels comfortable on your guys' part. I know 20 may be too many for a half-acre of land, but I'm willing to work with anything. I just want to be able to have my children raised in an environment where they learn responsibility and they learn that for their hard work, there is an outcome to it where technology is taking over a lot these days. So, I mean, being outside is good. We go camping. We try to go camping a couple times a year, just so attached to the front of it. So, I don't know, did you guys all get to see the video that I made?
Yep.
I took pictures of the chicken coop. Okay, so, yeah.
Anything else? Any questions?
Yes. So what is your plan with the waste and the sewage from the chickens?
The waste from the sewage, like I said, I had a compost pile at first, and that, I guess, it became a problem, or there was some objections to it, so I just want to move forward with this. I didn't want to object about that.
So you don't have a solid plan?
Oh, right now what we do is, I have shavings down and everything, so if I go in there at least once a week, and I sweep out the waste out of the shavings, it's not much. It maybe fills up a half of a 13-gallon bag, like a regular kitchen bag. So if I do that once a week, it's fine. I just put it right in the trash can. I'd like to eventually find a better way instead of sending it to the dump and everything.
Any other questions? Okay.
Should I sit down or sit here?
You can sit down.
Thank you.
Okay. Deep breath. Okay. All right. Do we have any comments from the audience? Or,
I just wanted to,
please stand up,
oh,
state your
sorry.
name
Kathy Partridge, I'm
and your address, just so,
160 Winter Street.
okay.
So I'm just wondering, you still have chickens?
No.
Oh,
We had to move them until This was all decided.
Oh, okay, 'cause I
Right now I have.
thought you were talking about you still had chickens.
No, sorry.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, Laura Clegg, 27 Mountain View Drive.
Yep.
I'm here actually to find out what the issue is, because there have been chickens in that house for 10 years, and there was a rooster there before that, and there are kids in the neighborhood who drive go-karts all over the place, and nobody bothers anybody else. So I don't know why all of a sudden chickens in his yard is an issue. And I live next door to him, didn't even know he still had them, didn't even know he still had the dogs. And I have the most obnoxious dog in the neighborhood, and I didn't know he had dogs. So I don't understand why this was presented or why it was an issue.
So I
To
don't think
begin
there's
with?
any issue with the dogs. That's not in front
No,
of
I'm
us.
saying
Just-
I live next door to that. I didn't even know they had chickens, dogs are all in the same little yard there. I don't hear them. So I didn't know why this was.
One thought on how to address Ms. Clegg's question. Yeah, we wouldn't want to, now have other people in the audience answer her because it's
Right.
intended to be, dialogue
Okay.
between the board. So perhaps the best thing, and obviously we don't want to put the board in the position of trying to reframe the comments that have been made. So perhaps the best way to answer the question is actually to allow other people to comment on that rather than trying to address her question directly.
Okay. Okay. So, would anybody else?
Hi, my name is Kelly Allen, and I live right on the other side of the stone wall. I bought their property.
Each on the right or the left?
It's behind.
Behind.
What's your street
I
address?
get the brunt of the problem.
What's your street address?
156 Winter. So as you were reading off the list of everything that needed to be done, to me, it didn't seem like any of that was checked off. I don't believe any of the neighbors are happy with it. I stated before, and I don't want to have to go through the whole list of everything I went through before. I don't know when you cleaned up your compost pile, which I use that word very loosely. It was still there as of September 15th. Okay, so it took you a while. And as far as the tarp, I'm not sure if that was to cut the smell down or what it was for. In my research, chickens should have 14 hours of sunlight, and that tarp goes over the entire thing down to the ground.
It's about 2 feet down on the backside of the front.
I don't think that's still sunlight for 14 hours, but whatever. After the first meeting, if it were me, I would have gone home and cleaned immediately. Nothing has been changed. You say you want your kids to learn responsibility. I say we teach them to follow the laws. That should be our first responsibility, is following the laws. I believe that if I had to sell my house today, that the value would be down. And I'm sorry for lack of other word, but it's an eyesore I have to look at. I can't imagine anyone would want to buy my house knowing that's what they would have to look at. I've lived here for 49 years. I've never had a problem. It's a great little town. That's why we stayed here. There are plenty of places we could go. I just hope that the law is upheld. And I think you had stated in the last meeting that you weren't selling the chicken eggs.
It was by donation for the most part.
Because I believe I saw online that they were for sale, 24 for $5.
Yeah, it was 2 dozen.
For $5, so that's not a donation.
I mean, I have people give me $4 sometimes or whatever it is to help out.
But you still stated that you weren't selling them.
I said that we were selling them by donations, whatever would help out.
So I just hope that the law is upheld and
Anybody else?
Bob Partridge, 160 Winter Street. How long have you had these chickens?
It's been almost 2 years, so it's been about probably 18, 19 years.
I go down there every day to my daughter's house to take her dog out. And I've never seen you or anybody clean those chickens out in the 2 years. that I've been going down there. And if you got a compost,
We ask that you direct, address the board,
Oh.
and not,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
right,
Quick question, sir, which property, so she's directly behind, where are you?
right,
Are you to the right?
I'm up above her.
Okay. Are you up on the hill then? Like on the
Yes,
back?
on the hill. But I go down there every day to let the dog out twice a day, and sometimes 3 times a day. But I have never seen them clean the chicken pen out. And furthermore, when you clean a chicken pen out, you don't go in there and just pick the defecation or whatever out of it, because the urine and everything else gets into the shavings, and it does smell. And the reason that she doesn't smell.
Okay, what's the point?
Well, excuse me, but I don't know your name, so. But anyhow, the reason she doesn't smell it is because the wind comes across that way going toward my daughter's house. Now, my daughter's had cookouts there, and they've actually had to go inside. The smell was so strong. And I've gone down there and be out with the dog, and it is strong. And whether you put chickens back in there, you're gonna have the same problem again. And because the only reason you're not getting a lot of smell right now is one thing, they put the tarp on there. And you don't have chickens out there digging and stirring everything up. And also, on the articles that you read, I have them here as well. Article 11.4.4, there is no valid objection from the abutters based on demonstrative facts. Now, these are facts that happen, and for one thing, their chicken shed is on our property line, which it should be. It should be a minimum of 20 feet away. And,
This dog collar is closer to my property than theirs.
right,
The chicken coop's been in the same place for almost 10
it
years.
doesn't matter.
Don't even address that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how long it's been there. It wasn't always used for a chicken coop. It was used for a implement shed at one
And the
time.
previous neighbors did ask my permission.
We usually have 3.
And,
Did you have a question for him?
Okay.
Where the property was located? We're looking at who's directly to that.
right, if you're standing on Winter Street, it's on the back side of their property.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna close the discussion to the audience. Okay. Conversation amongst ourselves.
I get to talk to all
So, did you have a final remark or something new?
Yeah, I mean, they brought up some things, 6 things, what they brought up to clarify if that's.
Okay, okay.
One thing is, I believe before you said that it's not breaking the law. I should have done my due diligence, yes, but there are special exemptions, so it is a zoned area, but only by special exemptions, correct?
So, you require a special exception.
I'm sorry, exception.
I got it wrong all the time. Larry corrects me all the time. Yeah. You may be allowed to have them,
Okay,
but it is,
so upholding the law, if I were to get a special exception, it would be within the real law.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And as for cleaning the coop, we have been cleaning it. I mean, I don't know if they didn't see it, but I mean,
I just have one question. When they asked you about it, though, you just said you just barely cleaned it 2 weeks ago.
That
Is that
was-
just the compost pile that you
Yes.
have been dumping poop into?
Uh,
That was
I
the
did.
issue?
I dumped the poop into the pile.
You did,
Before.
until 2 weeks ago.
No. I mean, after the first meeting, what, 3 months ago, we haven't added to that pile at all.
But it was still there until 2 weeks.
Yes, about 2 weeks ago, I realized that, I'm like, I was trying to decide whether I wanted to make the compost pile better, put it into like crates or whatever, So we're better, but at that point, the compost was fine.
And we also had to work on relocating the chickens, which was a bigger
Yeah.
issue than the compost pile. So with time, the compost pile came last than relocating the chickens.
And not only that, but we had something brought up about vehicles on the driveway for other vehicles. And I was taking care of that. I had a lot on my plate, trying to take care of everything. I had a lot of people, I had a comment about stuff around the house too, so I
Okay.
got rid of some of that stuff. But yes, we have been cleaning the chicken coop once a week, if not more than that. And as for scooping it out, I mean, right now, water chickens in food, nothing to scoop out. In the pictures, you can see, I don't know, they're black and white, but it's, the shavings are free, they're not plugged up or anything like that. And that's, I did the video.
Yeah, I saw the video.
It's about 2 weeks after we were able to relocate the last pension. So I know it's taken care of.
Okay.
Can I?
And like it's letters saying that. Sorry,
Yes, sir?
It said, you read on the special exemptions, that the board is acting on the application of special exemption, must find that all the following conditions are met. And these conditions are not met.
So
So,
we will walk through them as part of our discussion, so.
okay, all right,
All right?
very good.
All right, we are now closed to comment. Okay. So, shall we just,
Can I,
you,
I know, I'm keeping score here,
okay,
and he started out saying he had 20 chickens,
yeah,
and then he said he was able to relocate 10,
yeah.
but he never mentioned that he was able to relocate the other 10, so are there still 10 chickens
No.
on trucks?
The first 10 were gone.
Yeah.
There's been 2
By the
weeks,
next
and then
meeting.
everything is cleaned up, and then these pictures are taken, but this is not the pictures of where the chickens were. Well, I'm
So,
not,
yeah,
I
so
just,
as
I was
of
keeping
when-
track, and I said 20 to 10 chickens relocated, but then I didn't hear him say specifically that the second group of 10, or the doctor or the
Sometime.
other.
Yeah, so as of last
thought he
month,
Okay, I just,
okay.
I missed it, sorry.
Any other questions there?
My other question is he selling the chicken eggs, or is he donating the chicken eggs? There seems to be confusion there,
So it looks like he was
because he's selling.
asking for sale, but not necessarily price dependent, that's what I got.
Asking for donation.
Asking,
Well, it's still,
Right.
it's selling, he's selling the eggs.
Yeah.
He's receiving monetary
yes,
donation,
yes,
you know, it's,
yeah.
Where
Yes.
did you see it, Kevin?
We were getting more eggs when we had the 20 chickens, when we dropped down to 10, we were lucky to be getting 5, 6 eggs a day. And
Yep.
on average,
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
not yet.
Sure. Okay.
Sure, am I right?
Does anybody else have any more questions before we start? All right. Got it. All right. Following conditions, if the specific site is an appropriate location for such use.
I think the site would be an appropriate location.
So I think that, I believe the shed is large enough. I believe I am not positive about the location of the shed on the property, in
Property
relation to
line.
property line.
But
But it's been there,
Yeah, it's been there.
but it's been there. I'm just,
Only thoughts I have is that it's close to the property line, and where both their houses are situated, it's just where the houses are situated on the parcel, and how it's located.
okay.
No, I have an issue with, I think the setback there was 20 feet.
Yeah,
Like, so, I didn't take a tape measure, but it's
it's not.
not 20 feet.
Right, I think it's like 10.
So I have an issue there, and I have,
But they're not asking to build a,
no, but it's
already there.
It's already there, but it should be corrected.
Okay,
Yeah.
And then my other concern is, you know, it's a close neighborhood, and I really have a hard time in that particular location. I'm not saying blanket, mixed residential.
mixed residential,
I
yeah.
keep saying medium in my head. Mixed residential is,
Sorry.
I just fear that if you do one, you can't stop it. But it just seems like too close of a neighborhood.
Okay.
You know, there was an issue with the smell, the odor of the compost pile, and I think we had looked up and you know, it should be 100 feet, manure pile,
Yeah,
100 feet from all directions. You can't do it there. So
you can't do it on the property. So,
it's,
But their intent is to not collect it.
it's gotta go somewhere. Trash only comes once a week.
That's true.
yeah,
And
So would then the collection point, trash bin, be considered manure pile? Because it's defined as 100-foot manure pile,
Right.
not 100-foot trash with chicken
Well, if you
poop
put it
in
in plastic bags, but plastic bag, you know, animal, wildlife can go in there and rip the bags open. You know, I mean, I have skunks in my neighborhood, I apparently have a possum in my neighborhood now. I have a devotion, so it comes on 9 o'clock every night, there's a possum. You know, but I keep it, you know, I do keep my trash outside in the storage bins. I'm lucky, knock on wood, I haven't had an issue. But I also put most of my trash out on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, so. But, you know, shavings, if you know, if you got them, it's a lot of shavings. I just worry, you know, now it's this time of year, it's not so bad in terms of that, but in the summer, on a hot summer day, those shavings on day 6, you know.
okay.
Hi, sorry.
Sorry.
I think that it might, if the board's only objection, and this is completely hypothetical, just for the sake
Yeah,
of making a point. If the board's only objection were the proximity to the property line and everything else was fine, then it would seem more appropriate to render an approval with a condition requiring relocation. I'm not saying that's the case, I just want to make sure that that's clear.
yeah, I actually had that.
Okay, and I sense that that's what Jim were sort of thinking as well, but I just wanted to make it clear.
I just want to make sure we kind of jump down to the nuisance hazard piece, or no, to the sanitary,
Well, it's like specific.
yeah. Okay, yeah, all right, so, the property values in the district will be reduced due to incompatible land use by such use.
I have a mixed thought. Well, it's like if I went to buy a house and there was a bad smell of chicken coop, I'd probably keep going on the list there. So I just bought a house less than 2 years ago, and I would, if it smelled bad or it looked bad, I'd probably keep going. Or ask for a big price reduction. It's just, it's,
No,
yeah.
right. So I,
So I guess the condition of it, looking for the neighbors, as long as it would bring down their house or nuisance them, but their backyards are so tight, that I don't see it. It would just really ruin your backyard.
Yes.
That's what he said.
so, yeah, in and of itself, I don't think chickens necessarily, or having a couple of chickens would necessarily bring down, but it's the size of the property
Yeah.
in the close court. You can't get away from it. Can't really hide it,
Can't hide it.
can't hide it.
If a big fence was there or something, but there's not a big fence there.
It's a quarter acre lot.
Right. Right.
So, it's top of it.
Right. No nuisance or hazard is involved. So, we heard about odor. We haven't heard, we didn't hear anything about noise. So I don't think the noise is an
It
issue.
seems to be all over.
If they had a rooster, I think it
But
would.
they
Right.
don't.
They
Right,
don't today,
We never did.
yeah,
but,
Previous
Right.
owners had a rooster.
but it could, they could decide, or in the future, someone could decide
yeah,
to put a rooster there.
right.
Could get a
Um,
dinosaur too.
So I think the only real nuisance and hazards that I heard were the manure pile, compost pile, and the odor from both the coop and that. Were there any other nuisance or that were brought up?
Yeah, that's all from
Oh,
the,
yeah, okay.
That'd be the only one there.
Adequate and appropriate facilities are provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. So I think the shed is large enough to hold chickens. The outside space, from my perspective, is a little bit small. And, I'm not sure they get enough light, ventilation on the outside, but I think it probably is adequate for chickens.
Okay, it's adequate, but it's not something that I put my chickens in, I guess.
Oh, I wouldn't either, but that's not my,
I guess that's my only train of thought. I just feel like the opinion kind of matters. It should be, I think, bigger. I think it's adequate for survival, but not for welfare.
so I would say that about the outside, but not necessarily
The inside.
about the inside.
Inside.
Because if that's their roosting area, they like to cuddle up. So they only need like a foot of roost
I'm
for
just
each
worried
one.
about this. It's all that keeps staring at.
Yeah, oh, that's the,
That's,
yeah,
that's
the
all, that's all I
outside
keep
piece.
staring at.
Yeah.
This I think is adequate. I think the shed's totally adequate, but I just think the outside is just, it's gonna get so heavily trafficked so quickly that keeping up with the maintenance and cleaning is just
Yeah, right now it's hard to pack. It's like, it's dirt.
yeah,
That's when I
exactly.
went
It's
by.
just, there's nothing, if it was
Yeah.
grass or, it's hard to keep the grass without.
Would a limit on the number of chickens alleviate this concern, which is valid? And then also the waste they produce, it would become less.
Yeah, I think it would, but I think the limit, just this, if this was a bigger area and then really small chickens, I think the area needs to be more suited for maybe absorbing the smell, so if there's more of a porous material, not hard packed, like grass or something loose. I feel like some vegetation would help maybe get some of the urine smell and stuff down, but it's just gonna get killed again. I don't know, it's just really tight, you can almost see the backyard even in the pictures.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
you can see their house in the picture, so it's like, to me, I'm like, oh.
yeah. And then the final one, there is no valid objection from the butters based on demonstrable fact. So, from my perspective, the amount of correspondence we initially received is significant with objections. I haven't seen anything, have any of the abutters, have you received notification from any of the abutters that previously provided input that it's better?
No. So if this is what you're at, if you're asking me, has any abutter who was at one point opposed, changed their mind. I have heard no word of that.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion?
You think it's fair to entertain a limit? No.
At this point, with the number of objections, I'm not sure that that would be common should although that one's a hard one. Based on what we have. What about you?
I had thought of that,
Yeah.
but then I go back to the original meeting where, I mean, there were a lot of, if Tari's saying that no one has come around and said, oh,
Change their mind.
change their mind.
You've done.
But we have one abutter who has, but I don't think that abutter was at the original meeting,
Right,
so,
right.
there were quite a few letters, but a lot of those people were not, I mean, I put more weight to the abutter because they have to.
Right, and in fact, it's the abutters that really are the abutters are really hold the
They're
cards,
the ones that live there.
right,
And they're the ones named in the criteria. It's actually
Right.
said to butters in the
Right.
criteria.
yep. We have enough, have we conversed enough? We've hit every item. Do you have any other questions, any other comments? Yeah, we have a motion.
I make a motion that we sorry, Gary.
That's right. You need
No,
that.
what do you need? You need this?
Sorry. I make a motion that we deny the special exception application for case 1806.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Aye. Do we need to, so,
Was that all
yeah, unanimous.
Not
Um,
opposed, obviously.
So you have not received your special exception, I'm sorry to say, on the grounds of the abutters, objections, the potential hazards and nuisance by the waste, and the proximity to the lot line. Okay? All right. The next one up is, we can say, 1807.
Yes, and we should actually make a motion to grant that continuation to our meeting next month. If you want to take a minute, we can go.
All right. Okay, that's fine.
It's a big family. A lot of interest in these chickens. A lot of interest in these chickens. Brought out the neighborhood.
Every time that kid is on freaking. It's not fair, it's not
Okay.
Oh, dear.
All right.
I'm sorry, I made an announcement. It'll be, if you want to, we're going to, they're just about to make a motion to continue it to next month.
And that's near the school.
What's that?
Is that the location near the school?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so
November, So it'll be November 3rd.
Okay, well, it's up to them to let me know.
What's that?
It's up to them to let me know.
Oh, okay. The applicant?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think. Right?
No,
I came down
Notice has
here,
already went out.
Oh, I don't know.
Notice has already went out.
Yeah, I mean, is he saying, do you have some arrangement with them? Is that what you're talking about? Or-
no, they asked me to come down here.
Okay,
And I'm here.
Okay.
And I didn't know that it was postponed.
okay.
So
Yeah,
this
we-
is a waste of my time.
Right, yeah, no, I hear you, I hear you.
So,
Yeah,
I
so
don't
they
expect
have,
you to let me know. I
Right.
expect them to let me know.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
So-
And it will, right now, they're officially making the next meeting November 20th, so.
Oh,
that-
20th?
November 20th, right?
Yeah, that's Thanksgiving.
Okay, November 20th at 6 PM. And if you want to leave me your contact information, I can send you some sort of confirmation
Yes, I
or something.
appreciate
All right.
Okay, can I get a motion to continue ZBA case 1807 till November based on?
I'll make a motion to continue ZBA case 1807, special exception application,
Second,
to November 20th, sorry.
do I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, next one, ZBA case 1808, a variance application.
Yeah, I have really no objections. It's just that I couldn't take off the
Maya,
Here.
sorry.
They didn't
You're
tell
not
me.
there.
They asked me to come.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Step on up.
Have a good night.
Yeah, face camera and smile. Oh.
Oh, do I have to? I thought you were gonna ask me a question.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I was like waiting for you to ask me a question. I'm like, okay.
This is a very,
Quick, like, couple minutes.
Yeah,
this is a
okay.
summary.
This
This is a variance request, right? I thought you
This is
said, I
variance.
thought you said special exception.
No, this one's variance.
All right.
All right. So yeah, I'm looking to start dog boarding and daycare, grooming business, and training in Tilton on Laconia Road, 504 Laconia Road. I currently have one in Gilmanton. And the space just isn't working for us anymore. We're just kind of outgrowing it. And it's closer to home in Tilton for me. I haven't had any noise complaints there, no issues there as far as the dogs. Right now I currently have it between like 10 to 15 dogs a day, and it's going really well. So it's gonna move locations. That's about it.
Okay.
What's the new location?
Which building at 504? Because when I went by there, I couldn't decipher. There's Shiloh's,
So
there's a yellowish house to the right, and then there's a red building to the left.
Yeah, so it would be the yellow.
What?
Yellow house in
Okay.
line, 504.
So to the right of Shiloh's.
Yes.
In the barn also?
Okay, so my first question is that property is in quite a bit of disrepair.
So that's where Lenny and Susan kind of also come in. They're going to be doing the whole barn thing. That's kind of their thing. They know what they want to do with it. And then the house doesn't really need that much work. I mean, the floors have to be done. It needs good cleaning and that kind of stuff. And then I have to fence in the backyard. But other than that, I mean, it doesn't really need that much stuff.
And there was some comment about it was going to be residential as well.
Possibly. I don't think I'm going that route right now, but it does have multi-level, so there's an apartment on the top floor and then one on the bottom. So we're not really sure what we want to do for that yet, but
Do you own the property?
they do.
They own the property?
Yep.
Okay. And the barn is going to be used for the dogs? And the house is going to be used for?
It would be both.
Oh, all right.
I'm not sure exactly how I want to do the layout yet. There is a lot of space there, maybe too much space, so that's why I don't know exactly what I want to do yet, where I want the boarding part of it or the training part of it, but I am going to utilize hopefully both.
How big is the parking lot there? How many cars will it hold?
Probably 40.
Oh, okay.
It's pretty big.
There's two rows. Shiloh's pulls in about 40 cars, and it's close to that size, but there's also parking behind the building.
Okay.
The front, the building is set back probably 150 to 200 feet from the road,
Yeah,
and that section is probably, the frontage is a little over 100 feet,
yeah.
so there's probably, probably room for way more cars than she could possibly ever use.
Okay, now you said you had 10 to 15 dogs now, what's your plan for this one?
Probably about 25 there.
In your letter, it says 42.
That's the limit I would like to have. I currently have a limit of 42, but I don't want to go over a certain number myself. So to start, I would like to start with 25.
Okay, so you believe it'll be 25 dogs?
Yes.
And this is overnight?
No.
Right.
For daycare. So the
Okay.
overnight, I would
What was
have
the
10.
over-
I would
Oh,
have
all right, 10 overnight?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I asked final questions, anybody else have questions?
No, you kind of did.
Huh?
I actually, sorry, I'm not sure, what are all the businesses that'll be on property if this is approved?
So there would be me, and then
Yeah.
Shiloh's, which is a restaurant, and then next door, I don't really know what he's doing there.
That's a different piece of property.
Oh, okay.
So in other
Different
words,
location.
it would only be Brittany, and she would use the yellow house and the red barn,
Yeah.
which is separate from Shiloh's. You can't go through there, it's blocked off by
Yeah.
a border of boulders.
Yeah.
And so it would be just her business in that site. And so from our standpoint, we would clean it up, the barn, and make that functional and fix the front of it. And the area behind the red barn is the area that we've talked about for the dog yard that would be outside. It's behind the barn. So whatever parking would be in front and whatever the dog yard would be in the back.
So the 40 parking spaces would be shared between Shiloh's?
No.
and-
No.
No, there's no
It's
connection
separate.
between
They can't
the
be-
parking lots.
Separate driveways, and there's a stone wall that
So there
prevents
are,
them from going back and forth.
there are potentially 40 spaces available for her?
I would think about that.
Okay.
And I don't even need
You won't
that.
need that.
No. There's no way.
That'd be crazy.
Okay.
And they just come
Unless
and
the
go.
dogs
so-
are gonna drive themselves.
Will this have to go before planning board?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, good question. This would require site plan review if it's approved.
How many acres are on this property?
I believe,
It's just over 1 acre.
Okay, so it's pretty much the house and the lot and the little space
The
behind
house,
it.
the actual property is Shiloh's, which is fine. Shiloh's, the red barn, and the yellow house. There are two separate businesses there. There's over 200 feet of frontage for the two of them.
So it's all one property.
So it's all one property.
Yeah.
It was all one property. It was originally Bill Nickerson's and, Hawkinson, and he had a woodworking shop there. The woodworking shop was converted to Shiloh's Restaurant. I redid that. The house is a two-family house. There's a lower level that you enter from the back. The front is 2 levels, and you enter from the front. There's a large pad out back behind the property that we're not even talking about using right now.
Okay, so this would go, so everything to do with, because it's gonna have a site plan review, everything to do with traffic flow and all that stuff would have to be addressed there, right?
I
At planning board.
I remember that lot until there was an issue with, they had to put the boulders across there because
Right.
of the issue with DOT
Yep,
and Shiloh's.
yep.
Okay,
So that they wouldn't use the 2 driveways, so they'd be independent separate driveways.
okay. Okay. Any questions?
Any plans on
Not right now, not right away. I think 10's a pretty good number.
So the focus would be the daycare.
I want to pick up more daycare, a little bit more daycare, which would be that up to 25, I think is doable. I would like to keep my limit at 42, just in case I do decide to have more space and I want to be able to take more. But I do, for right now, I just want to do 25.
And how many employees do you have?
Currently it's just myself, but I would hire additional help.
And are we talking about just dogs or dogs, cats?
No, just that.
Just dogs.
Okay.
Are there any?
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Butters?
I was gonna just see if there's anyone had more questions for Brittany.
I was just looking at the Google Maps here. So the red barn is yours as well?
Yes,
And then the yellow house next to that?
yes,
Yeah.
Okay, so those are all yours?
yes. The red barn was originally located and moved and never put on a, there was no reason at that point because we had no one that was interested in doing the barn. So it's been sitting up on piers since the moving. And that's why it looks like it looks.
Okay.
So we're looking forward to having a reason
Always
to
wondered
put
when.
that together, yes, yes,
You're right by one.
yes.
Okay, when, Eric, you good with Brittany?
So, barking is gonna happen outside.
Barely any.
Well,
I don't have any complaints of it now, and they bark maybe like once or twice when they're excited, and then it basically stops. So I barely have any barking.
when your current location, how much residential was around it?
Right behind me there's a house, and then all the way up that street there's all these houses. But next to me there's.
How late,
So dogs would not be outside in the evening?
Correct, so
no,
my.
I looked at it, but I'm concerned about the sound of the dog barking travels. There's a residential location across the street from that, and then behind it there's also residential locations.
Right.
So I'm
So the
concerned
dogs-
about those
The dogs
people.
are not outside during unreasonable hours. It's not like we're out there at 10 o'clock at night barking. I'm very respectful of that. The last time that they're outside at night, it's 9 o'clock, and they're just out there going potty, coming right back in. And during the day, if I have a dog that's constantly barking in playgroup, I take them and I remove them, and they get separated from the group for a little while, because if they're continuously barking at the other dogs probably aren't gonna like that, and some of them get aggravated with that. So as a safety concern, they're not allowed to all be barking at each other, and that kind of stuff anyway, so that's why I've never had that issue.
I'm going to talk a little bit about how much time outdoor and the
Yeah.
play space indoor, because that was a
Right.
new idea to me.
Right. So during the hours of like 8 in the morning, until probably about 4, they're outside, and it's not all day, they're in and out. We utilize the indoor space, especially if it's too hot or it's too cold or it's raining. They're dogs, they can get sick too. So if we're not out there all day, they're not outside barking all day, so we are in and out.
The outside space,
Yeah.
will that be in the back?
Yep, it's in the back of the building.
I was just thinking about dogs outside in the front, traffic.
No, yeah,
and
no.
barking at cars. So that-
Yeah, and when
so
they're
does it mean-
outside, it's all supervised, so there's no digging under the fence or jumping or anything of that nature.
Okay. Okay, any more questions for Brittany?
Not at this time.
Okay. The butters, who wants to talk?
Well, I'm not
You're
necessarily a
standing.
butter,
Okay.
but I live on 25 Silver Lake Road. My name is Raymond Pauch, M-A-U-C-H. And I have a couple questions. They talked about 3,500 square feet for the backyard space for the dogs. I don't care how many dogs, there's gonna be barking. The wind comes towards my house, and I'm gonna hear dogs barking. I've lived in my house for over 40 years. between noise from Route 3's gotten busier, the motorcycles, the engine brakes coming down Dodge Hill and stuff.
What was
It's
your
gotten
address?
louder and louder.
What was your address again? I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
Your address again? What was it?
25 Silver Lake Road.
Sorry.
And,
Just past the real estate business.
And Lockmere Meadows is that development that they just built next door. And then according to the Winnisquam Echo on October 11th, there were 47 families that lived there with 50 children under the age of 12. Those kids are gonna want to take naps, or or a third of them probably anyway and stuff. I'm not sure about having dogs barking. And so basically that was my biggest concern. Nothing to do with you trying to make a living or anything else, but I'm not sure if I want to have to listen to dogs barking down the road from me.
Constantly.
Okay, let me just see, is there anybody else that would like to speak before I?
Judy Tilton. I just want to say, we used to live behind, actually over near where Dick was, by 3M, and we had a kennel on Route 3. It was a good 3/4 of a mile away, and we heard the dogs all the time. The noise travels.
I have a question about waste disposal.
I pick it up and it goes into the dumpster and the dumpster comes and picks it up. And then we clean the outside area about 2 to 3 times a day.
Can I make one other comment?
Yeah.
My one thing too is Brittany had said that since there were 2 veterinarian buildings on Route 3 there, that it shouldn't make any difference with her, but when you go to a veterinarian, you take your dog out of the car, walk him in, they examine him, maybe give him a shot, you walk the dog back out, put him in your car and drive home. The dog doesn't stay at the vet's for 24 hours, and if he does, it's usually because it's being sedated and it's in a kennel inside. There's not a 3,500 square foot spot outside where the dogs can run around and make noise or anything else. So I just dispute the fact that her business wouldn't be any different than Tilton Veterinarian or the other one up the road, because those are totally different.
Can I answer that question? Okay. So Dr. Judd and I are very good friends, and I actually, before finding this place, I was actually looking to start my business in that location. She does have a lot of dogs who are there overnight, and they're overnight unsupervised, and they do bark the majority of the night. Not all of the dogs there are sedated, and she
Are
does
they
have.
inside or outside?
They're inside, as well as my dogs would be too.
At night?
Yep.
But
But not during the day.
During the day, we have the indoor play group, so they're not outside all day. Especially if it's raining or it's snowing or it's too cold, we come in a lot. So that's kind of.
Okay. You have something else to say?
She's going to keep the dogs in the back. There's a buffer of a red barn and a large house. Next door to Shiloh's, there's a business that runs heavy equipment. There's never been a complaint because the excavators and the loaders and all those other things are making noise because they're all required to be behind the building. So there's a massive buffer there. On the side that goes along Lockmere Meadows, there's a fence, and it's probably 100 yards from the back to the first building. It's a football field length before you get to the first building. There are a huge amount of cars that go in and out of that area, and it's Route 3. I don't believe that if the dogs are behind the building, that you are going to approach anywhere near what the noise of vehicles on Route 3 would be, and they would be drowned out so that you would never know that they were there. She exists now in a multi-unit strip mall. We've been there. You can't hear the dogs.
Even my landlord, who, we have one sheetrock wall, and like I've asked him if he can hear the dogs barking, and he says no, and he's right on the other side of that wall. So if he can't even hear them,
Okay.
you know.
Okay, do we have anything from anybody else?
I would like to remind the board that part of the criteria for a variance is to show hardship. And we do have zones in Tilton that allow kennels. So it would not be a hardship to not allow it in this particular location.
None of them are available though.
If I could address that?
Yes.
I think the hardship is supposed to be with the real estate, not with the business. The hardship that we have with this real estate is it's in a mixed-use zone. And the way the property currently exists is there's a two-family house, and if we decided to finish the barn separately, by right, we should be able to put a business in there and have it mixed. One of the things that is special about this property is the configuration of buildings, a two-family house and a large barn. What seemed to us to be a good way for, to use the property is to be able to have a tenant who can use not only the existing residential space, because she does grooming and she does training and she needs all this indoor space, but also to be able to incorporate the barn, which then has these large playrooms in it for the dogs to be indoors. So the hardship, in my view, would be the existing real estate. And one of the reasons that the barn looks so horrible is because it didn't make sense for us to put money into it to fix it up if we weren't going to be able to rent it out.
Okay. Is it something new?
Well, the hardship is to the applicant, not to the landlord.
Hardship is to the applicant.
Why would it be a hardship to the applicant, not that this is a hardship for the landlord who needs a tenant?
Okay, we're gonna go through every criteria, so. All right,
Can I ask one
Yeah.
question? So I heard that the general outdoor hours are 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., but there's also a 9 p.m. Is there
Last time we
like
go
some?
out before
Is it
9.
like so? Is it, once you hit 4 p.m., is it that the dogs are very rarely outside just for the purposes of going to the bathroom?
Yeah, they just go out for the bathroom, because that's kind of when all of our pickups start to happen, so we kind of get everybody situated for pickup. And then when they're outside going to the bathroom at 9 o'clock, it's last out and they go by themselves.
Okay.
okay. All right, we're gonna close it, have our discussions. All right, everybody got the cheat sheet, what we have to talk. All right, and everyone have a copy of the responses? Okay. Any conversation that you'd like to have before we go through them?
I'm on the other end of his road, down on the other side of the road, on the side of the lake, so, and I know the sound does carry, because if you screamed, I bet I could probably hear it. which
And
the
the
sound
wind comes
magnifies.
that way.
And it does. It's a good thing.
When I managed the sports center, we had a kennel across the street,
3 and that.
and we had, I did hear at all hours, the dogs barking.
Is that because that they were outside?
They were outside.
They were in the standard
They were
chain link
both,
stuff?
but when they were outside, they were barking, especially at feeding time. You could hear those dogs. And at night, when they missed their owners, they were barking. And you could hear. We were only there till 9 o'clock.
Right,
But
But
even
they're
when I left
outdoors.
at 10, you could still hear them barking.
right,
And it was a good 800 feet away.
but they're outside.
Well, these dogs are gonna be outside too.
Not
No.
at night.
No,
You said until 9 o'clock, they could go outside, they're still gonna bark outside.
you know, if they're
I don't-
Regardless of the time.
We've closed tech.
Regardless of the time of day, they're still gonna bark, and that sound is gonna travel.
Okay,
That's just my
okay,
personal.
you have anything? All right, let's go through the comments. Go ahead, you have something else?
Yeah, it was just, one thing I thought about is like, it's indoors, they're being let out, and the road traffic, I just wanna remind everybody how loud that road is. It's like the secondary, like most traffic road in like the state besides 93. So it's a loud road, we have bike week, those are very loud,
Yeah. Yeah.
but at the same time.
Okay, all right, the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. It's-
Oh,
What,
sorry.
do you have something
We,
else?
we just didn't, I know that I talked about it with the applicant earlier today, but maybe it should be clear on the record that just as we offered, it made it clear to the last applicant that there were 4 ZBA members in attendance.
Oh, yes, I did
Yeah,
forget that.
Yeah, so just, I believe that she.
So you do have the option if you want us to, you want it to be continued. I should have mentioned that earlier. No. You need, all right, you need 3 affirmatives to pass. With 5, you get like the extra vote, so, all right.
Sorry about that.
I know, sorry, I should have done it. Okay. Let's see, must duly and marked to conflict with the basic and objective. So it doesn't, from my perspective, it doesn't really, I mean, it is a mixed use, although it is not currently used. I mean, although kennels aren't allowed, it does represent a mixed use property, and the way they're going to use it is consistent, I think, with the zoning. Basic zoning objectives of the ordinance. It doesn't alter the essential character of the locality, because basically it would just be cleaned up. And would it threaten public health, safety, or welfare?
Noise, good.
Is that a
Health or
threat?
welfare.
I mean, you might say it as some sort of welfare thing, but I don't think it's a public health issue.
Well, you have a development, it's not too far away, probably less than 800 feet. What's that place called, Lockmere Meadows?
Lockmere Meadows.
Lockmere Meadows, as a crow flies, and sound travels, is not that far away.
Okay. Any other,
I'm sorry, just for the record, I want to make sure I understand Mr. Pyro's comment. Are you saying that the proximity of Lockmere Meadows makes you question whether it?
It makes me question whether the noise of the dogs barking would be a threat to public health or welfare.
Okay.
Safety, I'm not worried about, but
Is Lockmere Meadows in the mixed use district though?
it's still,
I know, but it isn't, it's in the mixed use district, right?
I don't know what that's all back there.
Do you know, Dara?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would imagine that, looking at the map up there, it looks like it probably is. Because the blue is the mixed use there.
Yeah.
Resort commercial. Is that, no,
So-
so RC is what?
That's recreational, right? Commercial?
Resort commercial.
Resort commercial. And so mixed, so it's the mixed use piece, okay? Okay. Do you have any other comments on number 1? The variance will not be contrary to public interest.
So, comment about the barking. We're dog owners, and we've lived in a variety of different areas. And we've utilized kennels in different scenarios, and it can run the gamut. You can have a very noisy environment, you can also have, and that, a lot of it depends on a structure. And I've also been to one that was dead silent until you walked up, and then the dogs were all excited. But, so it's not constant, it doesn't always, it's not always going to be constant, but it could be. Depending on the dog, depending on the environment.
Right.
Granted, it's behind the property, behind the buildings, so they're not gonna be stimulated by the traffic in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Some dogs just bark to bark, some dogs are only barking when they're stimulated by something, so. Yeah, so it's not, I guess what I'm getting at is, yes, it could be a noise problem, but then it may not be a noise problem.
Right.
How are we going to know? And with the 93, the Route 3 there, that is a significant amount of noise, depending on the time of day. Late at night, it's less. In the middle of the day, it's a lot. Will the sound of the dogs be drowned out by that? Maybe. Maybe not.
I have a question. Am I allowed to ask a question?
Not really.
Oh, okay. I wasn't there. Okay, never mind.
All right. So I mean, I guess I was kind of on the same thing. The dogs aren't gonna bark all the time, especially if they're not kept outside. I find that type of kennel where you have the runs with the chain link fence is far more conducive to a noisy environment, miserable dogs than.
25 dogs barking is a lot different than one dog barking.
Right, right.
The only thing I'm thinking is that all dogs bark, no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
the backup alarm in my neighborhood, when it backs up, every single dog in the neighborhood barks. So it's not saying if the dogs bark, it's like when they're gonna bark and how often. It's
Right.
all comes down to their managerial.
Right,
So it's like if they can manage it,
right.
but we don't wanna.
Okay.
But the current environment,
It's noisy.
well, the current location of the business in Gilman, we've heard there hasn't been a lot of complaints, and that's a pretty close proximity to the abutters, the different businesses within that strip mall. Granted, it's right on 106, so that's another noisy, busy road. So, there's that evidence that it may not be that bad. But
But
again,
if we had up to 42, that's what we're pretty much getting at.
So, again, so that's the request. We can put a limit. I mean, we can make sure that that's imposed as part of the variance.
Is that by variance or is that by plan?
So we can, just like we could say, we could have so many houses on a property, you can say, it's limited to, like on the previous one, we could have provided a limit to the number of chickens. There's no reason why we couldn't put something in, a limit to the number of dogs overnight, the number of dogs during the day, proper requirements. You could add all
I
that
feel
stuff.
bad, like it's like regulating, it's over-regulating in a way. But I
Well,
keep the limits.
So that-
I'm sure they'd rather have
An over,
a condition of approval than a denial.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't feel too bad.
We're closed.
What's here, tell me.
Tell him and maybe he'll talk to you. All right.
I'd like the overnight thing, I think is the biggest. If we limited that, I think that's the biggest key player.
why?
I think 40
What's
dogs,
the difference?
25 dogs overnight.
Inside a house.
Right.
They're all
Just runs the
separate.
risk
They're all
more
gonna be
than
inside.
others, yeah.
Right.
I will
Okay.
say, I did just quickly converse with the applicant, and if, it would probably make sense to include the applicant in if you're considering limiting numbers, They probably have some, important.
Right, so at this point, we're just kind of talking about what we can do,
Okay,
right?
all right,
Trying to work around.
okay.
Okay. We beat that one to death, yeah?
Well, then,
Yeah.
to
I'm
me,
on
it,
paper.
it seems as though that might be the biggest concern with any dog's business.
The noise.
The noise is gonna be the issue.
The noise and waste management, I mean, that's
Yeah,
from my
that's-
perspective.
Yeah, usually those are the two issues.
Waste management seems to be figured out, the dumpsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
Um,
not a big deal.
So, in working through our cheat sheet that we're required to go through, the spirit of the ordinance is observed, kind of goes with one, you work them together. Substantial justice is done, each case must be considered by one. Any loss to the individual that is not outweighed by the gain to the general public is an injustice. The injustice must be capable of relief by granting the variance that meets other qualifications.
Well, the harm to the general public, the abutters, the people in the area would be the noise if it does exist, if it will exist.
Or if loose dogs have ever, I don't know if that would be a risk. I don't know if ever loose dogs are getting out, but that's a very rare.
I would say that's not common. I would say that's probably not
possible.
Well, with any dog.
Yeah, exactly.
It's gonna be possible, but I mean, that's probably more possible from when they leave their car to when they enter enter the business with their owner. That's
Most
most more
likely, yeah.
likely the scenario.
Still an impact, I think we should.
Yeah, could be.
See, I'm getting hung up on this one because the applicant, the owners, really, I really believe that the inability to find, fixing that property up would be a benefit to the community. I mean, it looks like crap now. Sorry.
No offense taken, and that's why we're embracing this.
So, I mean, it would be, so it would be.
But if they fixed the property up before this, who's to say that they wouldn't have another business that wants to go in there?
I understand. Like, you have to have a financial business case in order to do it. If they haven't had a business case until now, it's
Well,
it's tough.
doesn't matter if you.
I
if you-
understand, I
If
understand.
you fix your property up, it's curb appeal. So I drive by property, oh, that looks nice.
Right.
And if I have the red chapel shack
Right.
down the road,
So-
oh geez, I'm gonna have to spend so much money to get that
But is it,
up to snuff. And
Right.
I have a hard time with that.
so is the loss of this tenant, this potential tenant, right, this person, there's a value is it, let's see, is not having a tenant an injustice to the general public? Because unless they can come up with another tenant in order to do the investment, right? Because that's kind of the way this is playing out, right? There's no need to do an investment until they have a tenant, that they know what they want done to the property, what kind of tenant it's gonna be. Why fix it a certain way if you're not gonna,
Fix
Right.
it and maybe it might attract a different tenant,
right, but what kind of tenant do you go for?
something that can fit into the,
Right, but I mean, I guess I'm like, it's almost like the landlord should have applied.
I have a weird question, a weird
What?
thought, is that they're gonna fence it back there, and I know they said no cages, so it's gonna be like a closed wall basically around the outside, right? Like it's not gonna be fences?
It'll be, it said it was gonna be
Fenced,
fenced
but not
in.
chain link, yeah.
Fenced in, backyard. Well, I don't know if it's not chain link, but it's not your typical kennel where you
Yeah.
have the runs, that's. The values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. We get Shiloh's, we get, so would it be diminished? You wouldn't, if you wouldn't see the dogs ever, would
That's
it be
why,
diminished?
that's why I'm saying if it's a chain link see-through fence or is it a block fence?
But that's in the
You
back.
can't see it.
You can't see it.
No one can see it.
But anyway, it's going to be, sorry. It's so hard, you guys.
But if the Lockmere Meadows, sorry, I can't figure the name.
Yeah.
Is trying to rent, so I don't know, if rentals or those for sale, I don't know.
Rentals.
Rentals.
So they're trying to rent a unit,
Yeah.
and they can't rent that one unit because of dog noise. Is that diminishing the value of their property?
I would think that they'd be the only ones that would be impacted if anybody.
Well, it's still an impact on.
Right.
No, it is, but
Right.
I'm just thinking about the overall circumference from the property. I think they would be the only ones impacted, whereas anybody up front, they wouldn't be. I wouldn't think. But that is I mean, that could be a possibility.
About this one, right? We're talking about this
But
one.
there's a lot of possibilities.
This one, right?
What's
This one.
likely, what could happen. I mean, I think about her current situation, and as far as we know, there hasn't been any negative feedback.
No offense, but that's what the applicant is telling us.
That is true.
We could, Dari could call up the town of Gilmington tomorrow and go, oh, geez, we have a laundry list of complaints against that place, and that could be the reason why she's moving. We don't know, and I'm not, but I don't know that.
You can look at my review.
I don't have an abutters list with me. Is this actually touching the Lockmere Meadows property?
Yes.
So they would have received an abutter
But
notice.
would the management company, or would each
The
individual
management company.
So there's
So
no,
if they were worried about it.
The ones who
The
have the
renters,
rest of the
They're
units.
not.
Yeah.
the people that actually rent the units probably did not receive a notice.
No,
But
but
if the
people who
management-
are
No, the management-
managed financially.
Yeah, the management
Need
company,
to.
they're the ones
Well,
that
I
work.
just, I believe that's a Hodges property, they,
Okay.
Hmm.
So but they were notified.
I'm only if they are touching the property, then our procedure would be to notify them. I
Okay.
don't have the case file in front of me, but that, unless there was an error made, they would have been notified.
And we received zero feedback from any abutter.
Well,
Other
except
than
for folks
tonight.
who are here, yeah.
Not abutters.
Not abutters.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Right, okay. That's true, right?
Okay, yeah.
All right. Values of the surrounding properties are not diminished, so if that's improved, we'll fix that up.
That's improving the value, but the only thing is, like, you see how close it is, I would just worry that these people might want a solid fence, like, that's all.
Ooh.
You see how close it is, this is the other property they're talking
So those two are together.
about? Oh, okay, that's what I was
Yeah,
curious about, okay.
yeah,
That's what's confusing me so much, I thought they were saying that, okay.
Yeah.
Then, okay,
yeah.
gotcha. So that's what you're saying, the house.
We own both.
That's together, that's,
Everything
that
we own.
together
Yeah.
is the dog kennel.
Yeah,
Okay, I get what you're saying.
okay. You have something?
No.
Okay. Are you looking at the top of the, okay.
Yeah, so this is the barn, this is the house, this
Yeah.
is the house.
Okay. And, okay, all right. So there's a buffer. Okay, all right.
Chairman, I'm sorry, I think there is a bit of information that may be important that the applicant was trying to get in. And so I'm just gonna say it if I may.
Okay,
Okay.
because who minded
Well,
talking back to you?
I mean, and well,
He's not your
appreciate that.
boss.
You certainly could.
Yeah,
I would, if you
Yeah.
told me not to talk, I wouldn't talk, I tell you.
All right.
But I think, that a statement was made that only 10 dogs would ever be outside at one time.
No, and 10 overnight, could be 10,
I mean, I just asked her, and she just said that 10
Can I
dogs.
clarify that?
I think it is probably important that we
Okay.
allow that to be.
Directly relates to the noise.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the way that I do my thing here is that I have my indoor play groups, and they're separated. So I'll have like 3 play groups. And so that number 25 of daycare dogs is cut down between those 3 play groups.
Yeah.
And that one group is allowed to go outside at a time. And we rotate.
So you got like 3 different pastures, if you will, if you're talking about horses. So you're gonna
Right.
take one group out at a time.
Pretty much.
And the group is,
Like 10 dogs.
okay.
At
So-
most. And then if it's raining or if it's too cold out, we're literally only out there for like 10, 15 minutes at a time, if that.
Right, so my comment was the overnight, where it's where the barking would be most of an issue to anybody.
But they're gonna be
That
inside.
they would be inside,
Right.
and the comment was, she had said 10 overnight, and that you could limit that overnight. You could make sure that you couldn't have more than that, without violating
Okay.
your zoning.
Okay.
That was my intent, all right? And that's where we were talking about limits, like how many you could have during the day and how many you could have at night,
Okay.
all right? All right, hardship. Hardship, little enforcement would result in an unnecessary hardship. Going to a special condition. So did you say that you looked for properties, rentals?
Yeah, for a year and a half. Sorry, hang on. You okay? I heard you whining. Come on. Sorry. Mom life.
All right.
It was a
How was the next
for
test?
whining.
So I would say that she can find an appropriate rental in a year and a half. That would be a hardship.
I agree.
Okay. You read the definition.
Definitely, that's if she wants to grow her business, that is a definite roadblock. Hardship.
I just wonder if, when she was talking, was it just that that this property is the only affordable one, or was it, there wasn't properties out there, or if it wasn't cost effective, or? There's a lot of stuff.
Maybe all above, wait a minute, let's,
Just because the property's unaffordable doesn't, I don't know if that was hardship.
so retail, so kennels can be used in which commercial kennels are only permitted in general commercial and by special exception in resort commercial and agricultural.
And industrial.
Oh, special exception in industrial. So in general commercial, is the only place they are actually permitted, general commercial.
Or recreational.
That's by special exception, but general commercial, where is that? That's over here, that's over by, that's on the other end of town. That's the only general commercial area that we have, right? That's over by the
Well, I can see it not very well.
the purple.
No, I know, I can see it, I just don't know where it starts. It looks like it starts,
So you've got,
school.
yeah, we know it's across from the high school. So that's the only place that it's actually permitted
No.
by zoning. And by,
I just want to add, I mean, if you sort of refer to your cheat sheet,
yeah,
it's talking about special conditions of the property. And you guys are right now looking at a map and sort of evaluating all the different places in town where this might happen. And I feel that that might be a deviation from the way that variance criteria is supposed to be analyzed. But that's obviously, I guess.
This property as opposed to the other properties in that area, not this town.
right. So,
Or I guess what I'm saying is the fact that you can do it elsewhere, you know, is not the question.
but her hardship is a result of, when she said she had tried to find
Okay,
an appropriate rental.
okay,
And my question was, well, how would you, you know?
okay.
And then I wasn't sure where you could actually,
Okay,
where it was actually permitted.
all right, I see.
So my thing was, if she can't find an appropriate rental property in town,
Okay,
then this property, because of its configuration and it allows for both the grooming piece and the outside space, that it would actually meet the hardship
okay. No, I understand. I
criteria.
understand that.
From
a
my
little bit.
perspective.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wheels turning. Oh.
no smoke, so.
No hurt in there.
You have anything? Okay, do we have any other comments or questions? We've kind of walked through each of the, not everyone has spoken on each one, but we've kind of walked through everything. Any other,
I don't necessarily see her, I mean, she has a location. She wants to move to Tilton.
she wants to provide a business.
Yeah, she wants to grow the business.
She wants to,
I mean, the hardship in her current situation, it limits the growth, and she's looking to grow in this.
I
This seems
thought-
like
I thought
you know,
she-
her choice is this location.
yeah, I thought she wanted to reduce her commute too.
That's,
No, I know.
okay, I wanna reduce my commute too, but I mean, you know,
No, but I mean, that's the, do we want business in Tilton. Do we want to have a
But
business?
do we want a
meeting?
business that's gonna influence the other neighbors? And I have a hard time with the abutters list with the management company. We don't know if the management company notified any of the residents next door.
But that's not our job.
No, but we don't know if they did or they didn't.
Yeah, but that's not our, I mean,
No,
we
but
have
any-
to assume that the management company who runs it notifies the appropriate people.
Well, it can also speak to the financial side of it, because if the management company was concerned with a dog kennel business coming in their area that could possibly impact their ability to make money, I would think they would speak up if they were concerned, assuming they got notified.
And if it touched, they got notified.
That's the
If
process.
not, then.
Well, if nothing, the tax map, there's really not a lot of abutters. I mean, there's the mobile home park across the street, there's that, and then something land.
Right.
It's all 7, whatever the slot number was, there's like 7A and B.
Yep.
But I have a hard time with the noise. You tell me till you blue in the face.
That's fine.
I mean, it's a reality, it's dogs.
It's dogs and but
a
it's also on Route
possibility.
3.
I
I'd
feel
rather
bad
have
when
it there
people
than
hear
next
my
to
dog.
us.
And I have one.
Yeah.
Oh, I have 2, sorry, I have 2. And
Maybe you should send them and they get trained.
I could do that.
one just barks, because he barks.
Well, then I want
Yeah.
to send your dog into my daycare, unfortunately, because I don't want the barking.
So,
But you also want to make money, so there's,
so, anything?
Nope, just let the whole wheels turn.
Nothing else, Charlie? Okay. So barking, there's not a lot of abutters. There does.
well, there are about it, there's 47 of them, or whatever the number of units are in Lockyer Mountain.
They're up here.
But we don't know
That, you have to assume that they were notified. You can't assume that they weren't notified, because the letter was
The
sent.
process is the abutters were notified. So-
I get it. They're all home life.
I guess I would, if I could, are you saying that you think the applicant should have gone above and beyond the notification requirements and went ahead and said, hey, even though they probably are not familiar with the ins and outs of notifying them?
I guess that's more our responsibility as a town.
It's not, if I said, I want you to give me another $470 because I've decided I want to notify everyone in this place, I don't think that would be appropriate.
I disagree. But then again, I would say, okay, if I can continue that, then why didn't everyone in the mobile home park across the street?
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
but,
yeah.
I'm just processing in my head.
So if this goes through, hypothetical here, and she is successful in her business and it's, she's keeping the amount of dogs she wants, not more, not less, and it becomes a noise issue, and this might be a question for Dari, if this becomes a noise issue and there are problems and complaints because of the noise, what would the next step be?
Good question. I think, potentially, we in the land use office would look at the approvals and look at conditions of approval. I'm not suggesting that there should be, but they are going to go through site plan review. We'd certainly check both, and we'd see if there's anything in the conditions of approval that would something we'd go to them and say, hey, this is a violation of this condition of approval. If not, if there were no conditions of approval regulating noise, regulating hours, or anything like that, I think we'd turn to our disorderly actions ordinance. And that has a lot of strong language about nuisance noise, and we'd address it that way.
So ultimately, I guess what I'm getting at is, we are talking about things that may or may not happen with noise. If we get it wrong, and if this goes through and there is noise, the public is still, I'll say, protected with the due course of the regulations that are here enacted in this town. Noise ordinances and things like that.
Yes, although, I mean, I'm not gonna say that there's no way that there would be some noise that comes out of the property that some abutter has a big problem with, but that we don't have, you know,
Yeah,
essentially
can't do
through our
anything about it.
regulations, we don't have an issue with. We say, okay, well, we hear you, but it's happening at the hour of 5 o'clock, it's not at a decibel level that, you know, would we think, I don't think there are decibels mentioned in the disorderly actions ordinance, but I think, you know, extreme noise is sort of what's mentioned, something like that. And we might, so there might be that area, but that's, you know, but you're right, there are layers of regulation that are not being thrown out the window after this meeting ends tonight, certainly. And there is a site plan review requirement as well.
Yeah, so there's what's the words? There's safeties to the process of, you know, if it does become a problem, there are other avenues to address it.
And there are statements that, you know, were made tonight about noise and about numbers of dogs. And, you know, when I stopped you guys and I said, hey, there's something the abutter wants to say, you know, that's gonna be on the record now, the 10 dogs at a time.
Yep.
So.
Supervised.
Yeah,
Outside.
yeah.
But 42 dogs.
I don't,
Not all at one time.
That's daytime.
well,
Inside.
and then I guess I would also ask the board if, you know, maybe this is a little bit premature, but if the board wants to consider, in the event of an approval, setting some conditions of approval that include occupancy numbers, limits.
A lot of limitations, a lot of adjustments on it. Just gonna make it, like, as a business owner, it just makes it hard.
The applicants offered some numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she's already
Yeah.
mentioned 10 dogs supervised outside at any one time.
And 10, no more than 10 overnight, and that's inside. And her request is 42 during the day that would be broken up into multiple groups.
Now you're limiting their business.
No, that's what she said.
Well, that's what she said, that's her
That's what
plan.
she said, 42, and she says she separates them, and so only a fraction of that 42 is ever allowed outside during the day. Right? So what I heard from everybody, from basically everybody, the noise is a problem, and the abutters may or may not have fully understood or been able to attend. I also heard that there's a definitive plan. I mean, she has thought this through.
Yep.
That
She's in
hasn't-
business now, and
That she hasn't been able to find a location.
Wait,
Go ahead.
can I ask that one question?
Go.
I didn't ask you about this. Have you searched the entire town of Tilton, or have you limited your search strictly to the Route 3 corridor?
I have looked in Meredith, Laconia, Tilton, basically all over.
But that's my question, in the town of Tilton,
I
have you
all
looked,
over.
have you looked in other areas where this might be permitted?
Yeah, and there was one that I found in Tilton, but they didn't have any outdoor space. And that was only one.
Just my head was reading something.
Okay, anything else? All right. So, are we ready to put something together for, or anybody? No.
I'm all set.
Do we have a motion from anybody? So, before I go for it, I believe we have walked through each of the criteria. Is everyone satisfied that we've walked through each of the
Yep.
criteria?
Discussed it,
Okay,
yep.
we've discussed it, okay.
Good question. Thought? I make a motion to approve the zoning board case 1807 for a special exception.
1808.
1808.
For
1807 was,
Variance? Oh, am I looking at the wrong one?
all this time.
It's all right. I'll say again. Motion to approve zoning board case 1808 variance application for the Laconia, 504 Laconia Road location.
Any conditions?
No.
Discussion? Do I have a second? Discussion?
Is there a second?
Oh, you didn't second it.
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, all right, I thought you did. Okay. So without a second, do I have another way to move forward on this?
Let's say motion to deny. It's 1807. Oh, no,
We're on
1808, sorry. I would say because it's not a hardship. That's why. Give a second.
Do I have a second on it?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Open for discussion?
I just don't think it's legally, I think I know it's like, I want what I want to do and what I feel compared to what's in writing and what should be there. And I don't think it really qualifies for the unnecessary hardship. Because I really do think there's properties out there that could be rented for this in the zones where it's supposed to be.
So.
That's where I'm stuck on.
So you're saying that the applicant has not done, you do not believe the applicant has done her due diligence
Yeah,
in looking for a property?
I think there's other properties out there, and I just don't think forcing, just because you have your mindset on this property because the pricing works for your situation, doesn't mean it should be for the town plan. But
It could
that's my
also
mindset.
be, I mean, it may be price, but it also is likely logistics of layout, the different opportunities for inside, outside services. I think there's a lot of positive to the facility application. So it could be more than just price that brings her to this location.
I can see that, but I just don't think that's still a real hardship. She's had the business operating now. And I know she wants to expand, but
She wants to move it to Tilton and grow it. So, I mean, basically what I'm hearing is that she cannot grow it in Tilton.
she can't find the right property right now in the right area of town. That's what I'm hearing. It's just, that's the only thing that kind of gets me, it's like, we have laws, and we have the
Well,
zones for a reason.
But I think she's also, it's not, she's spent time looking in other areas than just Tilton. And she's run into roadblocks, whether it's financial, I didn't really talk about, but I'm sure that's part of it. But,
But you
the
do-
layout of the facility.
Right, you do need indoor and outdoor space for the business.
So this type of business, in my opinion, has a limited location where it can really fit well.
Sure does.
And so that's probably difficult right there, just that alone.
Any other discussion? So, point of order.
Okay?
So if we were to bring this, how could you bring something with something with conditions?
A
Could you-
denial?
So could you amend this?
Well, okay.
I know it's a-
yeah,
so I know
we've
it's-
got, Jim's motion didn't get seconded, so
Right.
it failed essentially,
Right.
and never got off the ground. We have a motion right now,
Right,
so it will need to be voted on.
right.
I guess you're asking if, the possibility of this motion failing, then someone could put forth another motion.
Okay,
That's,
all right.
yeah,
All right,
sure.
yeah. Okay, is there any more discussion on this? Okay, shall we put it to a vote? All right, all those in favor of denying 1808 for hardship reasons, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Nay? So the motion fails?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah. And there doesn't have to be a motion that gets accepted. I'll just make sure that that's clear. Like, we
So
don't just
what-
have to sit here all night.
Right, so what happens? Yeah, I know.
We're in an impasse, I think.
Yeah,
It would be, good word, yeah, you'd be at a standstill. We'd all go home and they wouldn't, there would be a non-decision essentially. They would not have their variance.
but they could come back because it was not neither.
I'm not 100% sure on how that works, to be honest. I have had an attorney tell me that it's not a denial, therefore the case could continue at another meeting. But I'll clarify that. I'm not 100% sure how it would be handled exactly.
I have a question, and this is the discussion, not one of order or anything, it's just the discussion. So your concern is the hardship.
Yeah, major.
Do you have any other concerns? Any other objections with this business, or not?
People across the street, trailers, the noise. We had a guy come in and already voice his opinion against, that's true.
He wasn't.
He wasn't in the butter.
He wasn't in the butter.
Butter, but no, he's right down the street. Like he's
a resident of the
yeah.
town.
But still, like he obviously has an issue for it. Maybe if they knew, maybe they would be here too. Eric brought up a couple points too, that not everyone was notified, but the landlords were. Just because the landlords didn't tell their tenants doesn't mean they're not gonna move out later, and then the property's not gonna be unoccupied. I'm not saying that's the case, but I just don't think it was fair to everyone how the situation. Granted, most of them probably wouldn't have shown up, but I don't know.
But don't you think that those people would prefer to see that land fixed up?
So. Really
No,
can't be,
I'm saying,
but
but-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the,
And I don't like the idea of like, basically, like, I don't mean to be like a bad term, it's like, I feel like we're being held hostage to make the property look good. Like, we're gonna make it look bad until we get, that's what I feel like at this second, like, we're gonna make the property look bad, so the only way we're gonna be able to get this in is, if you fix it, then we'll make it look nice, but until then. we'll-
but you're making, I mean,
So, the zoning board,
that's the right chart.
our role, our job is as a, I use the term stopgap, but property owners, we're here to help them use their property within the bounds of rules and regulations. And there's a property owner that has a business that's interested in using their property. And
Totally get it.
to me, that changes the context. Granted, we have to be concerned about the abutters.
I was concerned because they came, they're not exactly right across the street or right next door, but they're, a little bit down the way, it's not far. They came and they were, not stoked about it. And we're supposed to look out for everyone, not just one business, how they're gonna affect everyone. And that's,
So
it's just
the,
like, if they said, this is what we're doing, like, the only thing that the vagueness really kind of gets into, like, 6 to 8 foot fence in the area behind the barn. Well, how big is this? What kind of fence are we gonna use? Because if you use a solid fence, the noise echoes and it kind of helps stop down the noise. They don't really have that, wasn't really presented
So,
to me to get that mental image like that. I understand her business is probably great and stuff, but it's,
so there's conditions that you can put on, if that's your concern about the fencing and the type of
the
fencing.
fencing, the
You
noise.
you could put the buffers as a condition, you could put the number of dogs as an issue, you could put, I guess, and you brought up a lot of hypothetical things, but there's no actual factual basis for it, it's like a feeling. And right now, our goal is to, one, is the property unusually suited for this type of business? And is the property somehow not able to, it's not able to be utilized in a different way or fully because of its configuration, its location, its, all these other aspects associated with the property. And so,
I would need real facts, like it's gonna be an 8 foot fence made out of PVC.
that's the plan, so
That's,
that's the planning board, that's the site. I mean, you don't want to do, you could say, we could have buffers, or we could have, you know,
yeah, exactly.
you
But
could
that's-
outline that.
I just feel like the plan isn't sought all the way through, like that's all, that's how I feel.
Okay.
I just feel like the plan, I wish it was just cut and dry and already had presented everything, like they had a solid plan. Right now, she's trying to expand and do this and that, I get, like, there's gonna be different zones, but I just wanna make sure that all the neighbors are gonna not be affected greatly, especially here, especially if the noise, if they have it in, like, not chain link fence, that's why I was mentioning that earlier, the chain link fence, is sound can carry really well. And the lake is right there, like, you look on the map and you can see that, it's not far.
And it says
All right.
the recommendation on the intent.
All right, so, where do we go? We had a motion to approve unconditionally, we had a motion to deny, both failed.
We approved with some buffers, with limited dogs at night, and the noise has to be like
But the dogs are gonna be inside.
inside, yeah, but still, I think it's just decent for the neighbors. The neighbors complain, I think, meet them at least halfway, like,
Alright.
knowing that they can like sleep, and then after 5, the noise be limited down to small groups of dogs, something that after normal business hours, it'll lull down. Because on the weekend stuff, it's a quiet neighborhood, it's nice, except for the road. I just get where both sides are coming from. She's trying to start a business and do well. They're trying to fix up the property, rent it out, and actually get it occupied. Everyone doesn't want the whole neighborhood, you know, dogs everywhere. Everyone's got a little stake in it. So. But also don't want to overregulate someone so they can't run their own business. So.
You got anything, Aaron? Oh, go ahead.
Your concern is the noise after hours.
Yeah, like after the 5, like after 5,
After
the
5
noise.
and until like early
Yeah,
morning.
8 or 9, whatever.
Now, she's already given that structure of time
Yeah.
and the amount of dogs.
Well, who says her rules can change? That's why I wanted to put limitations on that.
Well,
Any day you can
how
change your
about-
business, how you
Yeah.
run it, and it's
Yeah.
not
But
against the
how
law
about-
to change how you run your business.
the, a motion to approve, I'm not making an emotion, but providing, conditions that spell out what she's established and how she's going to operate it at this point. Would that be, would that go without being said? I mean, that's what she's already stated, how she's gonna operate her
Yeah.
business.
Yes, but there is nothing wrong with saying I want a condition that no more than 10 dogs will be outside at one time, for example. No more than 25 dogs total at any time. No more than 10 dogs overnight.
Even though she's already stated that, that's what she's going
Right.
to do.
But
We can also make that an exception to the, or not, a condition to the approval. Would that, would you agree with making a condition such as that?
Yeah, as long as it's, I just wanna make sure the neighbors are respected and.
Which is good. I mean, we definitely want that to be.
And we want to, we don't wanna put, you know, that business in there and then this haphazardly too. We wanna have some thought for the master plan of the town. and-
So, you're quiet over there.
I'm still debating amongst myself. Having operated a business in this town that was regulated on the hour, using the hours of operation, which contributed to that business not being successful, I have a hard time doing that to someone else.
But that's not your responsibility. Whether her
That's up
business
Well, no, because,
succeeds or fails is not your responsibility.
no, but if she's successful in her plan, whatever, based
Yeah.
on rent, all these other
Yeah.
contributing factors of having 20 dogs and we're saying, oh, you can only have 10, then that's gonna be her decision if she decides to move forward with that plan. But I have a hard time looking past that, regulating, controlling, telling her what she can. I can understand, yes, she can go here, no, she can't go here, but in a sense, we're telling her how to run her business, and I have a hard time with that.
So I guess we were just, what I heard was there were property things, like the type of fence and buffers for neighbors. But then there was also like certain noise things that were concerning for people. And she herself had an upper limit of 42, which we could say, I mean, that was what she put in. So that's not something that we told her.
I mean, she wouldn't go there now, but that would be her limit of where she wanted to go. So she's already accepted that limit for her business in its current location.
No, I accept that.
All right.
So we either need to
Vote.
vote or
Go home.
or go home.
Yeah, we're beating it with a horse.
Yeah.
A horse right now.
So I make a motion to approve ZBA case 1808, variance application for the 504 Laconia Road location, with the exceptions of, or conditions, sorry, with the conditions of, as she's already stated, 10 dogs at any one time outside, a future possibility of up to 42 dogs at one time
On the
premises. Thank you. And another one?
overnight,
Oh, overnight.
10, she had put a limit of
To go along with what Eric's statement was, not to put burdens on her business, overnight of a limit of 15. Granted, she said she's only going to do 10 now, but again, I don't want to put a limit on her business. That's fair. So,
So I think we have to add the property pieces too.
the proper pieces, you're talking about the structure of the fence and so forth?
At least, yeah, solid fence, is that what you
Slow fence, 8 feet.
Still no trouble.
I think that, those are the, that's my motion with those conditions.
Without the fence? Or with the fence?
I mean, she's already stated that she's going to, there's going to be a fence. So yeah, my motion is about the amount of dogs at night, total, and outside at one time.
Okay. Do I have a second?
The fence is there?
Solid fence, right? No, you said not to put that in. Just the dogs. Do I have a second? I don't have a second. Okay, no second. So.
I just said I would do that.
I think,
Fence.
I mean,
No.
did you add the fence or
I did
not?
not.
You
Okay.
did not.
Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, that's my current motion. Would you like to make a motion with that?
I'm good then, but I think we're stuck.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, so that motion did not receive a second.
that motion did not receive a second
Okay.
without the fence. So, did you make a motion to move without the,
Make a motion to move without any result?
Or just, it happens on its own, yeah. Yeah, sure.
do I have a second?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
It didn't come to a conclusion at this point, so it's, as you said, it's still open. It wasn't denied.
Wasn't denied, so,
I mean, I suppose you could continue the case to next meeting. I'm not recommending it, but I'm offering it as an option. But, again, I'm not,
what I heard is it's not going to be a solution to this one, at this meeting, unless there's new information. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, it's not closed, that the applicant, and I think we need to figure out whether it remains, the applicant can come back.
yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to say, if they come back, we'll just have to send out another round of notices. That's the only reason that you might continue, so that we wouldn't have to renotice.
But we don't know when we continue to, right?
Sorry?
So we would automatically continue to next month? Is that-
It's, you could do that.
Do we want to do that?
Continue next.
All right.
All right.
So who moved to continue to next month?
I'll move to continue next time.
Okay.
Any seconded by Eric? Yeah. I'm going to pass on doing the minutes.
You want to hold off till next time?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to vote on her.
Oh, yes, sorry. Vote, all in favor to continue?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
And motion to adjourn, you want to do?
Motion to adjourn. We'll deal with, unless there's other business, is there anything other business?
Just those minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much for all the consideration.
It would be nice if we had an easy one. Yeah.
I'm sorry? No more Twizzlers for me. I didn't get any to begin with.
First meeting?
We're not usually that.
I know, that's like, wow, I'm really coming in hot.
My legs need stretched too. Hey, you Judy.
Lovely, and yourself?
Living the dream.
Do you know, I guess if we're just
So now, is this whole insert go in the binder?
Not a bad first meeting, huh?
Yeah, yeah, you might already have one, like I said.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't know.
yeah, that would go.
I can find my binder. I might sort of do binder.
Very cool house. I've never seen this place before.
What? Oh. Oh, 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 oh.